My husband left our family to join a group with his friends where relationships were not allowed. After a few years, he came back, hoping we would welcome him with open arms. I am a 29-year-old woman who got married 6 years ago but have been divorced for 3 years now. My ex-husband, Adam, is 30 years old. We have 2 sons, aged 4 and 5, and I have full custody of them because Adam didn't want the responsibility of a family. Adam and I were happily married for 3 years. We had 2 wonderful kids and were planning to buy a house to move out of our apartment. Then, out of the blue, Adam told me, "I want to be single and explore the world right now." We had been together since high school, so we only knew each other. He was my first everything, and I was his. I always thought we would be together forever. He seemed fine with not having been with other people besides me. But after 3 years of marriage, Adam told me he wasn't happy and wanted us both to be free from the burden of our marriage and family so we could live life to the fullest. He used strange, freethinker talk, as my dad would call it, which I didn't understand because I thought he loved me. Adam insisted he did love me, but he also loved himself and wanted to explore the world. Desperate to keep him, I even suggested opening our marriage temporarily, even though it hurt me, just to ensure he stayed. But he wasn't interested in that idea and was determined to get divorced so we could both do things the right way. This discussion broke my heart because it came out of nowhere. When I started crying, he told me everything would be fine and to have faith in our love. He said if we were meant to be, he'd find his way back. It was ridiculous and unfair, but that's how our marriage ended. One day, out of nowhere, he decided to leave and explore the world on his own, leaving me and our 2 kids behind without caring about us. When I asked him what he thought would happen to the kids, he suggested I leave them with someone I trust and go explore the world too, meet new people, and live an adventurous life to grow. I was shocked because, in my opinion, when we have kids, it's our responsibility to raise them well, protect them, and meet their needs. As a parent, you can't just leave your child behind to travel the world. It made me think he was not thinking clearly at that time. I decided not to fight the divorce and didn't contest it since Adam was willing to give up everything. His parents were wealthy, so alimony and child support were not a big issue. He got visitation rights, but he rarely visited, and when he did, he preferred to meet the kids at his parents' place without me around. Eventually, even those visits stopped after a few months. I later learned the real reason for his behavior from a friend, Rachel, who had mutual friends with Adam. Rachel's cousin was part of Adam's friend circle that influenced him, and she told me about it 2 months after the divorce. I don't blame Rachel for not telling me earlier because she didn't know until after the divorce was final. Knowing the truth wouldn't have changed the divorce outcome anyway. Rachel's cousin, as per what Rachel told me, lived a very adventurous and carefree life, along with his group of friends consisting of about 6 or 7 men. They believed in not being tied down by relationships and had made a pact to stay single. Adam got introduced to this group by a coworker who thought they'd get along, even though Adam was married with kids and didn't align with their single-focused ideology. However, Rachel's cousin boasted to her and others that they had convinced a married man like Adam to leave his family behind and embrace their lifestyle. He bragged about their group's influence and how they had successfully converted someone to their way of thinking, which showed the strength of their beliefs. Rachel, out of curiosity, asked her cousin what this man looked like because she couldn't believe someone would leave their family based on their friend's advice, especially a married man with kids. When her cousin pointed out Adam in a group photo, Rachel connected the dots and texted me right away after leaving the event. This happened at a family gathering, and once it was over, she asked if we could meet and talk. I agreed, so she hurried to my apartment and told me everything about Adam. I was beyond angry when I found out why my husband had left. It was infuriating to know he did it to impress a group and look adventurous. He abandoned his family for something so foolish. Learning the real reason made me wish he had just cheated on me instead. It would have been a more understandable reason. But it was unacceptable. I wanted to call and yell at him, but I didn't bother because realizing why he left showed he wasn't worth my time or energy. I was convinced that my husband was simply not thinking straight. There was no denying it, and I knew trying to change his mind was pointless. Instead, I focused on making the best of my situation and raising my sons to be better than their father. I also worked harder at my job to ensure my kids never felt abandoned. I hired a nanny and doubled my efforts at work to avoid bringing work home. When I returned home, all my time was dedicated to my kids. My parents provided a lot of support, and sometimes even my in-laws helped, though they kept their involvement minimal, likely out of embarrassment for their son's actions. They were the ones paying child support, as Adam spent his money on lavish trips and hotels now that he had no family responsibilities. I raised my kids as best as I could, and now I have 2 wonderful, well-behaved boys who adore each other and me. We're a tight-knit family, and I've mostly put thoughts of my marriage behind me because dwelling on it is just frustrating. Work-wise, I've worked hard and now earn twice as much as before, putting me in a great place financially. I've been doing well for the past couple of years and felt like I had everything under control until last week when Adam unexpectedly showed up after nearly 3 years of being absent. It was a Sunday and my kids and I were at home. We could afford to buy a house, but I've stayed in our apartment because I love it and it's convenient for work. Unfortunately, this meant Adam knew where to find us. He showed up at our door out of the blue, and seeing him after all that time was quite a shock. Neither of us spoke at first. I noticed his appearance, the large bouquet of red roses he held, and the tears in his smiling eyes. But instead of feeling moved or emotional, I felt a surge of hatred towards him. Before he could say anything, I forcefully shut the door, making the floorboards tremble. I quickly ushered my kids inside because I knew he would try to persuade me about something, and I didn't want to engage in a conflict. All the pain, anger, and resentment were building up inside me, and I didn't want my kids to witness the potential ugly argument that could follow. After I sent my kids away, Adam began complaining about not receiving the warm welcome he expected. He tried to hold back tears, which only fueled my frustration. He had put me through so much, and now he acted like the victim. He said he came to apologize and wanted his old life back. I was surprised but let him speak because a part of me wanted closure after 3 years. Seeing him again brought back all those unresolved feelings. In a twisted way, I wanted to show him that we were better off without him and that his absence didn't affect us. He talked about how he had fun traveling and exploring with his friends, but deep down, he felt lonely because he had no one waiting for him at home, just empty hotel rooms. He admitted that he felt something was missing for a while, and finally decided to come back and apologize to make things right. The excitement of his new lifestyle faded after a few months, but he was scared to return because he had invested so much in it. Now he regretted it and just wanted his old life back. The more he talked, the angrier I got. I wanted to punch him in the face for all the nonsense he was saying. I couldn't take it anymore, so I told him to leave us alone and that I didn't want to talk to him right then. But Adam didn't listen. He kept begging and talking outside the door, thinking he could change my mind. It was annoying, especially since I had to get the kids ready for dinner. So I slammed the door and shouted that he wasn't part of our family anymore and needed to leave. I think my strong reaction caught him off guard because he stopped talking after that. Once I got the kids settled for dinner, I contacted my lawyer and explained everything, just to make sure I covered all my bases. Then I called my parents and shared what happened during Adam's visit and how I responded. They supported my decision and assured me I did the right thing. I didn't reach out to my in-laws because I didn't know how to explain the situation to them, and I figured they would hear about it from Adam eventually. Rachel called me right after I finished my other calls. Since she was the one who initially told me the truth about Adam leaving, I picked up because I figured she had more information. She asked if Adam had visited, and when I confirmed, she mentioned that her cousin had called her to update her. Rachel and I have always been close friends, especially during the Adam situation where she provided a lot of insights through her cousin. After learning the truth about Adam, she made it clear to her cousin that if he found out anything about Adam, he should tell her because of how Adam had treated me. When her cousin found out about my situation, he seemed less proud of influencing Adam, but I don't blame them. I blame Adam for being so easily swayed. Rachel's cousin had promised to keep us updated on Adam's whereabouts and even apologized to me once he learned about my situation. I forgave him because I didn't hold any grudge against him, but we're not close friends. He would inform Rachel about Adam's activities since Adam had blocked me after the divorce. This time, Rachel's cousin contacted her to share why Adam had returned, and Rachel passed on the details to me. Their friend group had a group chat since they all met. A few hours before Adam visited me, he messaged the group about his plan. While the guys were supportive, Adam felt betrayed by them for moving on and getting into relationships. He believed he was the only one who had sacrificed his family to have fun with them, feeling cheated by their actions. The other guys, who were now all in relationships, explained to Adam that it wasn't fair for him to expect them to stick to their old beliefs forever. They had come up with the idea of not being tied down when they were younger, in their mid-20s, but now in their late 20s to early 30s, their perspectives had changed. Some were in serious relationships that had lasted over a year, and one was even engaged. The talk about avoiding commitment was no longer their reality. Adam was the only one still holding on to those ideas, and now he was the one suffering because he was the only one who fell for their old beliefs. Adam's relationship with the other guys turned sour because they had initially supported his decision to leave me, but had now moved on to serious relationships themselves. Despite their current support for Adam's desire to return to his old life, he wanted them to apologize for encouraging him to leave his family. The fight stemmed from his expectation that they should take responsibility for his actions, which they refused to do, rightly so. The guys clarified that while they shared certain beliefs, they never told Adam to leave us to be part of their group. They reminded him of his responsibilities at home and suggested he could have balanced his family life with their friendship. They didn't force him to choose but respected his decision, which ultimately led to him leaving us to fit in with their lifestyle. He was repeating the same pattern. Now that most of his friends were in relationships, he felt the pressure to fit in again, which is why he returned to us. It wasn't out of a sense of responsibility or because he truly felt empty, like he claimed. Maybe that was part of it, but not the whole story. When Rachel told me all this, I was furious. I felt a bit guilty for turning him away, so I called my parents for reassurance. If I had known these things before he visited, I would have given him a piece of my mind. Unfortunately, Rachel's cousin was busy with work when their group discussed these matters, so he didn't check his phone. He only found out later and told Rachel, who then informed me after Adam had already visited and we had talked. Now that I knew his true intentions, I resolved not to let him back into our lives, and I refused to feel guilty about it. He never showed remorse for what he did to us, so I saw no reason to blame myself. He was just a bad person, plain and simple, and I was determined to stick to my decision. However, he never made another attempt to come back. In the following days, I didn't hear from him. When I asked Rachel to check with her cousin, even he didn't know what Adam was up to. Adam had blocked all his friends from the group after their fight, including Rachel's cousin, who had nothing to do with it and only found out later. It became a bigger concern for me because if Rachel's cousin was blocked, I wouldn't be informed about Adam's plans. He typically discusses even minor decisions with his friends before acting on them. But now, with Rachel's cousin blocked, I was left out of the loop. When my in-laws called me 3 days ago, I was surprised and unsure of what to expect. They wanted to talk about my conversation with Adam when he visited to reconcile. I reiterated that I didn't want him back, but they argued that they had been supporting our kids financially and ensuring their well-being. They felt I couldn't dismiss Adam as no longer part of the family. We argued because my in-laws defended Adam, and I ended the call. I'm reflecting on it, but I don't see how I'm wrong. They reminded me they supported our kids and Adam still has visitation rights, even though he hasn't used them lately. I'm unsure about what to do next. I want my kids to have a father, but I also don't want to deny Adam anything. I'm not sure if I have the legal right to decide. Right now, I'm focused on what's best for my kids. Hi, thanks for your support and advice. I've decided to ask the court to change our custody agreement so that my ex doesn't get visitation rights anymore. I'm not sure if it will work, but I think it's worth a try. It's been 2 days since I last talked here, and many of you suggested this. My parents also think it's a good idea. Paying child support was just a legal requirement. I've been the one taking care of our kids while he did his own thing. He can't decide when he wants to be part of our lives. It should be consistent. I requested to end Adam's rights as a parent today, and I wish I had done it earlier. I should have done it when he first stopped visiting the kids after leaving us the first time. But it's better late than never. Many people here had opinions about this move, but I take back what I said about not wanting to deprive my kids of a dad. They never really had one around, and who knows if Adam might leave again. He was gone for 3 years, so now he can permanently step away from being a parent and do whatever he wants. But not at the expense of my feelings or my kids' well-being. That's not okay with me, and I don't think I'm depriving my kids of anything since they didn't have a dad anyway, so it's not like they'll miss him. I couldn't completely end his rights, but now he can only see the kids when I'm there to supervise. That's a step forward, and he can't control us like before. If he proves to the court that he can consistently be a good dad, we might change this in the future. But for now, this is the most he can get. As for me, I won't get back together with him, and that's final. After the court hearing, when he tried to talk to me again, I lost my temper and told him I knew about his desperate need to impress his friends. I said he should go marry them because I'm done. I even said if he wasn't the father of my kids, I wouldn't even acknowledge him. Then I left with the kids, leaving him and his parents